This is the Citroen C5 X. It's a year since I sat into a static version of this car, left-hand drive. I didn't think it was going to take this long to get it on Irish soil, but it's here now and that's all that matters. We're going to have a look around at the car today. It is something really good looking and it's really comfortable, and those two promises from Citroen are delivered in the C5 X all day long. This is a plug-in hybrid version of it. It's actually the 225 brake horsepower version. So you have a 1.6 petrol engine, and then you've just under a 14 kilowatt hour battery that delivers a range of 40 kilometers thereabouts. You can drive it on pure electric mode, you can drive it in hybrid, you can drive it in sport, and you can go from 36,000 euro up to just under 50,000 euro for this version of the car. Whether it's the gorgeous face or just the large overhang over the 19-inch alloy wheels, the glass C-pillar on the back that you can actually see out of in the car, but it looks like it's black texture on the outside. On the hybrid version of the car, it can detect road surfaces ahead and kind of adjust the dampers for that. It is genuinely one of the most comfortable cars, for the money anyway, that I've ever sat into. And it doesn't look like anything else in the market. Is it an SUV? Is it a crossover? Is it an estate? It's kind of got coupe look. So there's an awful lot of design action going on. If you get the hybrid version of it, you're going to creep under the 500 litres for boot space. It's about 480, about 540 for the petrol version of the car. And there is tons of space, even in the hybrid version, to be fair. There's no storage as such down here because the batteries are there, but it's still a pretty decent boot, and I haven't struggled to fit dog boxes or anything like that into the car just straight away. You've got a bit of flexibility in this boot lid cover as well. It's very easy for that to unclip, and you can actually take the full bar out. And same if you have valuables or whatever in the back of the car, you just hook the shelf there and everything's out of sight. Now, even on this more higher spec trim, there's no electric boot release, and it is actually quite a heavy boot. It doesn't feel like there's a bit of assistance from the struts. It closes first time every time, but it is heavy. It is very generous in terms of space here. If you have the seat all the way down to the floor, there may not be the best space for your feet, but you can sort that out by rising that seat a little bit. There's ample knee room and foot room and good height. Not tons and tons of headspace, but there's enough. You don't feel squished. Now, you can get an optional glass roof. This car doesn't have it, and I don't know if it's actually worth it, because the amount of light that you get in from it, yeah, that's nice, but the roof doesn't actually open that far, and it certainly doesn't come into the back of the car. You have an armrest. It doesn't cover up here, but it's fine. The thing you really notice are the seats. They're just like, kind of mattress toppers. When you put that in a mattress, that's kind of what every seat in the car feels like. So it's extremely comfortable. You do get access to the boot also. There's a bit of a hump on the floor, but not as much as you'd expect from a car that isn't purely electric. There's a couple of USB-C chargers in the back and your own air vents as well. So it's quite well covered in the back of the C5 X. Bit of a nod to the old BX with that steering wheel. Kind of anyway. Fire up your infotainment system, and one of the first things you should probably do in the C5 X is customize it to your own liking. It's out of the box, it can be a little bit frustrating to use. You can swipe across to get to your media. You can swipe down to set up different sections like the head-up display, but you can then control that by just the mirror adjustment knob here as well, so you don't need to go into menus for that. Same with the climate control. There's physical knobs, there's charging, there's wireless charging, there's a tray that covers it all up if you don't want that exposed. But yeah, my advice is go in, hold down this center screen, and it'll get a menu option that will pop up, and you can set up whatever you like. Now, it'll take you 5 or 10 minutes to do it, but once it's done, it's done. And then your life will be a lot easier. So that's my advice with the infotainment system. You can program the car to charge and heat in the morning, so when it comes on, you're nice and toasty when you leave the house. Again, for the price, there's a heated steering wheel, but not heated seats. Find that a bit strange. Plenty of space down here, more USB-C charging ports in your armrest. It's not the deepest in the world now. The seats have little nods to the Citroen logo. They're just so soft and comfortable, like long journeys are pleasurable. The upper sections of the cabin, lots of soft materials used, squidgy and soft, and again, more Citroen logos on the side this way. There's good storage for hats, bottles, kind of stuff in the side bins. So it's well covered there, and I particularly like actually the grips on the drinks holders down here. They really grip in something depending on the size of it. Your display, so you get two different displays. You can get a 10-inch and a 12-inch. That's the wider one. Try and get that one if you can. And then the information for the driver. This is where you can flick between your drive modes. It'd be nice if that was a little bit bigger, but it's all right. You do get used to it. Just again to cover, it's an 80 kilowatt motor and 180 brake horsepower petrol. You can get a 180 brake horsepower 1.6 petrol without a hybrid. You get a 1.2, 130 brake horsepower 3-cylinder engine. Don't know if you'd want that in a car this size, but it's there. That is the entry level. Flair and feel are the packs, and this one kind of has everything you'd want, bar heated seats. Like, where's my heated seats? But head-up display, lovely different two-tone colours going on with the roof and everything. You know, people are going to wonder, is this like an executive saloon on the inside? Citroen have definitely elevated as much as they can. It's not comparable with an Audi or a Mercedes or Lexus or whatever, but very, very good quality, and I am impressed. And when you take this car in a long spin and you just appreciate how comfortable the suspension is, you kind of forgive it for everything. Also, the plug-in hybrid version has a much smaller petrol tank. It's about 17 litres smaller. You get a range of about 40 on battery mode and a range of maybe 500 kilometres from a tank of petrol. But again, if you do longer journeys, you'll probably just want the 1.6 petrol. And the glove box is now bigger and wider in these cars because the newer generation of these cars on the platform that PSA are doing means there's no fuse box in there anymore. Excellent news. There are times behind the wheel when the hybrid, the electric, the petrol, the gearbox, it's an 8-speed gearbox, are all trying to work together. So you'll put the foot down and then it comes to life. You'll get about 40 kilometers on just electric range, as I mentioned earlier on in the video. The default is that it'll start up in electric mode, so if you want to conserve some of that battery, you've got to put it into hybrid. You can charge the car on the go as well. You can set that to maximum, and then using the petrol engine, the battery will recharge, and you can keep that for a later date. And there's a lot of different arguments for that, for and against, because what's the point of getting a plug-in hybrid if you're not going to actually charge from a wall box? This car will do 3.6 kilowatts, so charging will take somewhere in about 6 hours if you're charging it. And I think in the UK they can get a 7.4 kilowatt onboard charger, but it's the slower one on this car anyway. You've got an insulated windscreen. The outside world, I mean, I'm not saying you can't hear a car going past, but it's quieter than most cars. And like, if you just view this car as a floaty, comfortable bus, then you'll absolutely love it. Now, going into Benz, it's not a sports car, so there's a little bit of body roll, but it's an acceptable amount for the overall ride quality of the car. Like, it really is. Even road noise is kept to a minimum. There's something special about it. Like, I can tell you that all day long. You kind of need to drive it for yourself just to experience how smooth it is over bumps, how the odd speed ramp just doesn't care. Just like, here's one now. Yeah, you feel yourself go over it, but it's fine. It's like minimal interruption into the cabin. Now, if you heard that beep there, it does beep for everything. There's a car too close. You're going across a white line, or you're getting close to the edge of the road, whatever. They are very welcome aids, a lot of safety gadgets. You can turn some of them off. Your nav will tell you where speed cameras are, and you'll actually input where you think you may have spotted a speed camera, just to keep other Citroen drivers aware. It's good seating position. You can sit nice and low on the ground if you like. The adjustable steering mount is fine. Plenty given it. You can set it up to whatever way you like. Same with the seats. Found them very comfortable even in terms of legroom. See, it's beeping again there now. It's like, what are you beeping for all the time? Just stop, I get it. If you don't charge it, although you should, you'll get about 6.5 litres per 100 kilometres. Obviously you can drive in emissions free if you like as well. It'll tell you the end of each journey how much of it was emissions free also. And it's just a luxurious, smooth, very comfortable, very quiet, salubrious way to get around. That's the best way I can describe it. I've been really, really impressed. Like, it's not trying to be German. It's not trying to be particularly premium on the inside, although, you know, it's nicely put together. There's shared parts with many of the other PSA family. One of the most comfortable ways to drive the car is in pure electric mode, and there's always a little bit of hybrid activity going on. So the lower speeds, pulling away from the lights, you'll feel that. I have found a bit of wheel hop, and it's trying to grip for traction in slightly damp roads. There's not a lot of kilometers on this car, so the tires are still in good nick. So sometimes that front wheel drive can just take a little bit of, if you go too hard on the throttle, you mightn't get as much traction as you're expecting. But if you want something that is so smooth, that is so air suspension like, without paying for something like a Mercedes S-Class, this is really now quite remarkable, the level of smoothness that Citroen have achieved from this. I mean, Irish roads are perfect for testing a car like this because they're brutal at the best of times, but not in this. It's just really, really comfortable. It's just a salubrious way to strut your stuff around town, and it does it just with perfect comfort all the time. The C5 X from Citroen is a seriously classy motor. I don't think you'll be as impressed if you go for the entry-level one. You do want to get a bit of spec on it. Choose the hybrid version very carefully. You may not need it. You get a bigger boot, bigger fuel tank. It'll be cheaper to buy. You will get that range of 40 kilometers if you've got charging options at either end of your journey, but even one blast across the M50 and that's depleted. So think long and hard about that. And it's going to be something that will turn heads. It's absolutely gorgeous looking. It's a super job all around, and it's won Car of the Year in a couple of sections this year, and after spending a week with it, you can see why. So thank you very much for watching this video, coming this far with me today. If you have any comments or questions, please do leave them below. We are still chasing that 30,000 subscribers, so if you'd like to sub to the channel, if you haven't done so yet, I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one.